Money Matters, powered by Nedbank Insurance. Insurance you can bank on every day.
Welcome back to Money Matters, proudly brought to you by Nedbank Insurance. We are here with Walter Marta, who's the Managing Executive of Nedbank Insurance, to help us make sense of all things insurance. Now, Walter, when someone faces a crisis and needs to claim on their insurance, whether it's the death of a loved one, an accident or damage or loss of something valuable in their lives, what is the most important thing people should know about making a claim?
Yeah, Rolf, I think claiming on insurance is really the moment of truth. You know, it's the point where you find out if you had the cover you thought you had or not. So, you know, in our industry and in Nedbank Insurance, we call this the moment of truth. That's why it's so important to take out insurance with a registered insurer and to read and understand the terms and conditions of your policy. You know, at Nedbank Insurance, we hate having to tell clients that a claim has been rejected. We'd rather help them through the uncertain times so that their claim is paid and they end up on the other side in the same position they were if there was a damage to their assets or their loved ones were looked after if it was a death. That's why we focus heavily on client education, helping people understand their insurance and how to avoid claim rejections. The first step is to ensure that you're insured with a trustworthy insurer. Provide all the necessary information when taking out your policy and keep your policy updated as your life changes. If you do this, you've already solved more than half the potential stress around claims. The next step then is to lodge the claim with the insurer as soon as the insured event occurs. How you make a claim really varies by policy, but you usually find the relevant information in your documents or on your insurer's website. It's vital to keep these details handy for yourself and your family. With all claims, the sooner you lodge and submit the required documentation, the quicker the payout. For example, our funeral policies, our clients can receive their claims in about 12 hours. Most of our clients, in actual fact, 75% of them receive them in 30 minutes. And I think the most important thing is to make sure that the documents you submit are correct the first time you submit them. Otherwise, you just get a workaround the whole time.
What documents are usually needed to make sure a claim is processed smoothly?
This really depends on the type of cover that you have. When you register the claim, the insurer will really guide you. So, as I referred to funeral claims, you'll typically need a death certificate, and then you'll need this form from the Department of Home Affairs, which is called the DH1663. No need to remember that. It's really the document that confirms the passing of someone. You'll need a certified copy of the ID of the deceased as well as the beneficiary, and then you need to complete a claim form and bank details so we know who's claiming and where to pay. You also need a police report if the death was unnatural, and that's really to help validate the claim. And having the right documents up front really does help avoid delays and speed up processing. But I'm very happy to say at Nedbank Insurance, we're always looking for ways to make things easier for our clients. So a lot of these documents you don't have to submit to us because we automatically check with the Department of Home Affairs whether that form that I can't remember the number of is valid. We know your bank details, so we know who to pay it to. And we really encourage our clients to update their beneficiary details so that we don't have to ask them at claim stage.
And that's really important because it adds to the customer experience, doesn't it?
It makes it really easy. And I'll share a little secret with you. Not a lot of people know this. The fastest we've ever paid a claim is less than 10 seconds.
No. Really?
Because all of those documents are already available. So all we're doing is just checking. And then we can pay out the claim.
That's very, very impressive, Walter. You seem pretty chuffed about it too.
I am very chuffed.
And what about claims for car accidents? What documents are needed there? Because you know the state of our roads and whatnot, and there are many car accidents that are reported out there on a daily basis.
Yeah, car accidents are a little bit more tricky, and I'd encourage you to use your cell phone to help you with this. You really need a detailed account of the incident, you know, including the drivers that were involved, a copy of your driver's license, the police case number, and as most people know, you must report that incident to the nearest police station and get that case number. And as I said, use your cell phone. Take photos of that actual police report when you log it. Take pictures of the actual accident, how it happened. Take the driver's license of the person who was involved in the accident with you. take the picture of the license disc on the car, etc., etc. The more information you have, the better your claims process will go.
Now, some completeness and accuracy of documents really matter, right? What are some of the common issues that cause delays in claims?
Yeah, the biggest cause really, as you said, is incomplete, but also incorrect information, actually. So missing a document or having the wrong document actually pauses the entire claims process. So in funeral claims, a common delay that we often see is that we don't have a beneficiary that's nominated in the policy. And this is actually a disaster, because you actually have to pay the proceeds to the deceased estate, which requires a letter of authority from the master of the High Court. Now, obtaining this letter takes time, and winding up the estate can take even longer, meaning the family doesn't get the money that they need. And the intention actually of a funeral policy is that it pays out very quickly. That is the one, and the legislation actually states that you have to pay a funeral policy in 48 hours, actually. So the longest that claim will be is actually 2 days. But if it goes through the deceased estates process, it takes really long. There is a way that a family member can approach the master of the High Court and ask for a letter of executorship or a letter of authority. But this really does depend on the size of the estate, but it creates a massive amount of complexity. So as I said, critically for life policies and funeral policies, it's really important that you nominate the beneficiary at the time of taking up the policy or when your life circumstances change, so that claim can be paid very quickly.
I quickly want to ask you about waiting periods while we're speaking about insurance and claims, and so that one knows about the waiting period if a claim should come about. Tell us exactly what waiting periods are and how exactly they work.
Yeah, it's a very good question. Waiting periods are there really to protect the insurance company and the insured, to make sure that the policy that they're taking up is valid. Otherwise, what clients would do is they would have preconditions that would then be pre this instatement of that policy. Waiting periods are often between a few weeks to a few months. A funeral policy can be up to 6 months. I'm very happy to say that at Nedbank Insurance, if you can prove you have previous cover, we will waive those waiting periods because there's no need for that. And then, as we referred to earlier, is that the exclusions are also there to try and align themselves to the waiting period. So the exclusion could be there up until the waiting period passes, and then that exclusion is no longer valid. And that's really good for the client, but also protects the insurer so that clients don't defraud insurance companies.
Yeah, and I don't want to sound silly or anything, but this means that during a waiting period, you can't claim.
Unfortunately, for some things, yes, but for others, you can.
Okay.
So for waiting periods, most of them are related to intentional death, like suicide. But for accidental death, insurance companies will pay in those waiting periods.
There you have it. Lodge your claim as soon as possible after a covered loss or damage, and make sure you or your family can access and submit the correct documents easily. Also, always nominate and keep your beneficiaries updated on policies like life cover to avoid delays and family disputes when a payout is due. Thanks, Walter, for these important lessons on making insurance claim experience a little less stressful.
It's a pleasure, Ralph.
Money Matters, powered by Nedbank Insurance. Insurance you can bank on every day.